In terms of the pilot work and what I'm starting to feel is it's really exciting. We've already made such massive progress as a collective of people working. You know, the capacity and the energy that people bring into this work is amazing.
Some of the feedback that we've had is that life gets in the way of physical activity, and what we want to do is try and put physical activity in the way of life. I mean that literally and figuratively. We're talking about that's how we go about our day-to-day business. So when you step out of your door, you have a simpler way to get to work, and that is by foot through a green way where you can walk with your children, do the drop-off at nurseries.
This whole concept is about ensuring that communities are having their say and developing programmes that are right for their own communities and their own families.
A phrase that I do use quite a lot is around cashless commissioning. We need to look at this in a way that we're influencing the whole system. How do we change what currently happens to make sure that we get people moving more? This is not about the money. Fundamentally, this is about how do we make the difference through the co-production.
It's challenging the system so we can take that forward, we can take it to our governance, we can take it to our leaders and say we want to do something differently.
This approach is really different for us in Manchester because it's the first time where there's been quite a broad remit and an open approach to test and learn ideas and opportunities. I think historically we've always been bogged down with quite strict KPIs and quite clear remits, and whilst it's a little bit scary, it's actually a great opportunity.
We've tried to take the language of physical activity and the potential negative connotations associated with it out of the conversation as early as possible, primarily so we could create a broad church that people would come to, because I think when you talk about positivity and being happy and healthy, it's something people can speak to.
One of the things that's come out of the conversations we've been having with our community is the fear of being seen to be physically active, and what that might mean for someone who's currently claiming benefits. They might have some penalties applied, or at least that's their fear. So it'll be really interesting to work with those communities around that particular topic.
So we've been to cancer support groups, we've been to respiratory support groups, and having conversations with those people as well, and understanding from a patient perspective or a resident perspective what are the barriers they have linked to their particular conditions. We've also been going into a lot of the GP practices, conversations with our practice managers, and understanding from their point, you know, what are the things that would allow you to do more referral into activity, or what actually could run from your particular practice going forwards.
We've also started to learn and make links with culture and arts and physical activity. So for example, we've got Dippy arriving in the Rochdale Borough in February of next year, in 2020, and we're starting to look creatively together at how do we actually get the benefits that are intended for Dippy the dinosaur coming into the borough for the purpose it's intended to, around science and creativity, but also are there opportunities to use that major attraction to actually improve levels of physical activity as well.
There are parties within our sort of working group that thought it would be quite a long series of quick wins, but what we've actually realised is that it's not. It's just a long series of conversations that lead to other conversations that may be dead ends or may highlight a real nugget or a piece of gold in terms of insight into that locality and the mentality of the people that live there. Primarily, I think our biggest success is our ability and our patience to listen.
I think it's too early to really say we're finding any solutions. We're still very much in the understanding phase. We really want to understand the problem. We've always jumped to solutions too early, and without understanding the problem, the solution has never stuck, never been sustainable.
A lot of the work that we're doing at the moment is around that consultation and working with an area that really has been over-consulted over the time. So there's challenges there in terms of disengaged individuals that have had the question over and over again, and so we have to try and work with them in a way that we're not giving any false promises and we're not giving any false hope. We're giving some real tangible ways of developing physical activity within their communities.
There's a common theme running across all three cohorts and other areas of work we're doing, and that's around unlocking isolation.
So what this process has enabled us to do is work very differently with partners. We're very fortunate we've been able to secure some of the drawdown funding and actually enable the very VCFA to do the consultation on our behalf. It's about having a different conversation with our communities rather than just the sports sector leading this approach and everybody feeling that they're contributing towards the solution.
We want to ensure that people within Bolton become more active and Bolton becomes a more healthy place. But of course that's what we want to see right right across the 10 boroughs, so that right across Greater Manchester we see a much more active Greater Manchester and people to be healthier and living longer.
The strategic conditions are right around this work. It's so well positioned and the time is now.